Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, editor and writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording this week's show on Saturday, January 14th, 2022, which is the day after Belle has begun its 7-day run in theaters. G-Key has kind of pulled off something short of a miracle here. That this Mamoru Hosoda film is in over 1,000 theaters in North America, and even on IMAX screens. Now, Drew, you've talked about Belle a couple times on the show at this point. You really enjoyed it. In fact, you've actually watched it a couple times now, right?
Yeah, and I got to actually speak with Mamoru-san a few weeks ago, which was really exciting. It's for the we're doing a big animation issue of the Rap magazine.
Cool.
I got to talk to him, and it was wonderful.
How would you describe this one? I mean, we've tried on the show previously. I mean, Beauty and the Beast meets the internet, only Belle's like a Kardashian-size social influencer, except in real life she's like a 17-year-old high school girl who lives in a remote village with her dad, right?
Well, she's actually like a pop star. Like, she is a social influencer, but she also does these amazing concerts where she kind of brings out all the characters from this. It's kind of a metaverse, if we're going to use that super obnoxious term.
There we go.
Yeah. So, everybody comes and watches her sing, and she's amazing. But obviously, in real life, she's very shy. Her mother died at a very young age in a tragic accident. And she's just kind of awkwardly fumbling through life. And then there is a beast character that comes in that's known as the dragon. And so she's trying to figure out who he is in real life. And it's just wonderful. And it has maybe my favorite piece of animation that I saw last year, which, Jim, when you see it, you will know it. Okay. I will say that.
Okay. Yeah. So I've now got 6 days. So what should I do here? Should I go with because I have options. I can see the English subtitle version, or I can see the English dub version. There's also a couple of places where I can potentially see this thing in IMAX around New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Do we have suggestions?
Is the IMAX subtitled or is it dubbed? Maybe that'll be the really deciding factor.
Dad. Okay, I don't have an answer. All right.
I would say if the IMAX is subtitled, go see the IMAX. I think that would be great. But they have a great cast assembled for the English dub, including Hunter Schafer from Euphoria, which is not a show I expect you to watch, Jim, or you might have.
I am aware. Season 2 just started, right?
It just started, yeah. We saw them filming occasionally over in Burbank during the pandemic, which was like a real thrill. When you're on your way to Target, you see the Euphoria kids out, and you think maybe things are returning to normal. So,
There we go.
that was the barometer.
A Zendaya in the Wild sighting. Holy cow!
Yes.
Wow! Oh, see, it's not all Bob's Big Boy, folks.
Right.
All right. Anyway, I'll check the listings and I'll get back to you about what my options are. But seriously, folks, 6 days left. Go see Belle. Okay, we got lots and lots of animation-related news this week. But first, news portion of this week's Fine Tuning is brought to you by Storybook Destinations, trusted travel partner of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. For a worry-free travel experience, please book online at storybookdestinations.com. Back to Belle for just a second, though. The Mamoru Hosoda film has been shortlisted for Best Animated Feature this year, right?
Yes.
Just last Sunday, we had the Golden Globes were presented, but...
Sort of.
Well, that's the thing. If we're getting into metaphysical questions here, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? The award show equivalent of that really is, if the award show was presented, but very few people actually get to see it because it's no longer being broadcast by a major media outlet, do the trophies there have any impact at all on future voting as we go into the,
Well, the other thing was that, did you see how bungled the tweets were?
Oh,
it was so bizarre. It was like the worst possible version of this. I really think if the Golden Globes are around next year, it'll be a miracle. Because there's other things that are going to come out about this Golden Globes organization.
No doubt.
I just don't think that it's going to... I don't think it's going to survive. But I just thought it was hilariously poorly executed, even for a bunch of people in a room at the Beverly Hilton.
When you are celebrating the win for comedy or musical or comedy and
Yes.
talking about that,
Oh my God.
that laugh riot, West Side Story, and it's like,
Yeah.
really? Really? There's nobody in charge of the internet, the Golden Globes organization, that there's not a theater queen in the building? Nobody who's actually, I mean, it's only been around since 59 as a Broadway show.
I mean, and that was only one of the bad tweets. I mean, there were almost every tweet was poorly judged. But what was weird was then you would see you saw Disney flaunting the win on social media with a little shareable that was designed that had a West Side Story, or was it Encanto that won? Or Raya, whichever one won. And it was just like, are you really giving these people more oxygen?
The hard reality is award season is still award season, and the metrics are all off this year. I mean, if you look at what's won to date, Sony's Mitchell's versus the Machine seems to have the edge, seems to have the momentum. Oh, by the way, did you see where the art of the making of book is now free to view online?
I did. I have a stack of those books because, Jim, as you know, they just send you a lot of things during award season. And I've been handing those out on the street corner. Did you see the Mitchell's versus Machine? But did you see did you see that great GLAD screening they did with Rebecca Sugar, the creator of Steven Universe, that they posted excerpts of the other day? It was amazing. We can share this, on Twitter, but it was just really, really powerful, and it really made you think about Disney and Pixar having maybe the two gayest movies they've ever made and just refusing to engage in this conversation in a meaningful way. It'll really make you feel good about humanity for 5 seconds, but then also disappointed by everybody else for not.
Just yesterday, Rotten Tomatoes announced its Golden Tomatoes Awards, and it had Raya and the Last Dragon as the best reviewed animated feature of the year, which confused me because I went over to Rotten Tomatoes to check, and Raya and the Last Dragon had a freshest rating of 94 and an audience rating of 97, whereas Mitchell's vs. the Machines had a freshest rating of 97 and an audience rating of 88. So if Mitchell's has the higher freshness rating, and freshness, correct me if I'm wrong, the freshness is based on things that really fearful critics like yourself, a member of the Critics' Choice Association. It's based on actual reviews, right?
Yeah, I mean, that might be a weighted review because they have the top critics, and maybe that is why Raya won. I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. The Golden Tomatoes Award is
I know, but it's just, it's this weirdly cumulative thing.
Right.
For example, Encanto is having a huge week right now between, what's going on with the music, which we'll talk about later in the show. But we just saw Sing 2 this past weekend claim bragging rights because it was the first animated feature released in 2021 that had actually broken through the $100 million blockbuster level. That Encanto, again, because, it was close. Yeah, 94 million. But that was largely because Christmas Day, it's just hey, it's going to Disney Plus. And Sing 2, just this past Friday, started doing video on demand. And that was just after 2.5 weeks in theaters.
Yeah, did you see how much it was, too? It was $25 to rent. I don't know how long that gives you, but good Lord, that's a lot. Although, we were hearing numbers from when Trolls did it, and they were saying that they made, $150 million in the first weekend or something just on those rentals. So, I think it is impressive that Sing 2 did what it did, but you also have to look at what Sing 1's cumulative box office was in 2018, I want to say, which was, I believe, over $600 million. It made more than Incredibles 2 that year.
Do we even live in that world anymore? I mean, face it, you and I were talking just last week about the Turning Red decision. If we're talking about the Netflix, the Disneys, the Comcasts of the world, for them, the future's already here. The money they made, pure, unadulterated cash that poured in over the opening weekend for Trolls World Tour, and God knows what they made for Sing 2. But at the same time, it was Variety this past week that reached out to folks at Pixar. And again, the problem is the people that they quoted with, nobody went on the record.
Yeah, and I think that actually that Variety piece was like a complete ripoff of an Insider piece that my buddy Jason Guerrero did.
Really?
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, all those quotes were from his article. But
okay, well, let's then.
Yeah, but go ahead, share the sentiment, I guess.
I get religious about that. You want to make sure that people who actually got the quotes get the credit for getting the quotes. But yeah, we have folks at Emeryville, up in Emeryville, who are, who shared. And for example, there was the one quote in the piece that it's safe to say that we're all feeling extremely disappointed. Until today, we thought Turning Red was going to be our return to the big screen, and everyone in the studio was so excited about it being this film in particular, so it was quite a blow. On the other hand, Jason, is that right? The gentleman who wrote the article?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Jason
got somebody else to chat, and who said, not exactly a surprise, with Omicron infection so high. I haven't heard anyone here say this decision to pivot to streaming is wrong. I mean, I get it, but it still sucks. This is just Turning Red. There is absolutely no conversation at this point about Pixar's Lightyear going this route. That's still being positioned as a summer blockbuster. In fact, are you hearing the same things I'm hearing about the ad buy for the Super Bowl?
Oh, I would be very surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, you got to remember that not every animated feature gets its ad to premiere in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Bob's Burger.
Oh, well, let me just say something before we get off of Turning Red.
Yep.
I have now seen a half hour of it.
Ooh. And
I am not allowed to talk about it yet. I'm sure we will go do a deep dive when I am allowed to talk about it in early February.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is this movie will have no problem getting people excited, getting people talking, and we've seen how Encanto has totally taken over the landscape since it began on Disney Plus, and I feel like Turning Red will do the same. And I can't say any more, but everyone should be very excited. Let me say that. Yeah.
And then let me say I'm incredibly jealous that you've seen a half hour of this. But cool. Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk soon about it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Okay. So circle back to the Bob's Burgers movie trailer, which debuted this past Monday during a broadcast on ESPN of the College Football Playoff National Championship game.
I was riveted to that, Jim. I was just... Yeah.
Now, to be fair here, nobody's talking about this going to streaming yet. And it's supposed to be released on May 27th, just 3 weeks after Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You gotta love the people at Disney who are trying in a succinct way to sum up what this movie is about. Did you see this description? It's like an epic musical comedy mystery adventure that's based on the long-running Emmy Award-winning animated series, which really needs to be seen up on the big screen. Rolls right off the
for
tongue.
2 weeks until it's on Hulu. Yeah. That's sort of why I don't understand the kind of like extreme enthusiasm for theatrical to some degree, because you and I know how much longer these things exist on home video or streaming or whatever. And you and I, who are still coveting our physical media, are going to go out and buy the feature-rich Blu-ray when it comes out and all that. So, yeah. But I mean, what did you think of this trailer?
I really wanted to work because I'm a fan of the show. Did you get from the trailer at all that there's a sinkhole that opened up in front of the restaurant, and that's what's driving the story, that nobody can actually get into Bob's Burgers? So in order to keep see, this is what I mean.
That's very Simpsons movie.
Yeah, I know.
And the other thing that's I think is so funny is that when a show becomes a movie, if it's animated, you just add a lot of shadows. That is like the way that you distinguish the two.
Okay.
From one another. Which actually,
wow.
I came up with this observation. I was texting, my fellow nerd friends. Jim, you're not the only one that has to feel the brunt of my observations. And then I saw our friend Tom Moore, who directed Wolfwalkers and contributed to Belle, actually. And he said, I always thought this was a bit silly. When you add shadows to every scene, it loses impact. If the style is 2D, it looks best with shadows only when needed or specific effects. Look at the old Disney movies, for example. He and I feel the same way, and I don't know how you feel, Jim, about these shadows.
I love that Tom is on social media. For example, did you see him earlier this week tweeting out about the Ghost and Molly McGee and how it's like, who does this? Oh my God, have you seen this show?
You know what? That's a perfect segue, because you know who animated parts of Bob's Burgers movie is our friends at Mercury Filmworks, our favorite little animation studio that could.
Yep. Yeah.
That do Molly McGee too. And I think, for my money, they do the most beautiful 2D style
no doubt.
animation out there, right?
I love what they do. So we talked a few minutes ago about Encanto and how it's having a moment, because as of today, We Don't Talk About Bruno is the #1 song on Spotify in its top songs category. And in fact, Surface Pressure, Luis's number from the film, is just a few spots below that on the charts. And meanwhile, if we drift over to Billboard Hot 100 for the week of January 15th, We Don't Talk About Bruno sits in the number 5 slot there, but it's expected that this Lin-Manuel Miranda song will push its way to the top slot in the coming week. What do you think, Drew? Is this really on the back of what's going on TikTok? All the people who were sort of imitating Dolores and Camilo's dances, or?
Well, have you seen how the actual stars of Encanto are getting into this too?
No.
Stephanie Beatrice did a great TikTok where she did side by side kind of, and she did every character.
No. Okay.
And I should really point you to Jessica Darrow, who plays Luisa. Her YouTube, she did this amazing kind of jazz cover of Surface Pressure that is totally awesome. So
wow,
I think it's really fun that everyone, all the actors are getting in, and they're all adorable, so that helps. But it's really, it's been fun to see this. I can't remember. I mean, I guess Let It Go, obviously in 2013.
But the thing with Let It Go, think about it. Even before this film opened, we had Disney putting the actual videos of the choreography sessions that the animators looked at as they were prepping the numbers, and now we have, it's like commentary on the commentary, because we've got both the voice performers doing, as you just mentioned, likewise other folks who are doing their own TikTok versions of the dance and that sort of thing. And then just the other day, did you see this hidden Bruno thing that came up? Or
no, I did not see that.
Okay, somebody actually walked me through this Zapruder film style. Okay, so it's the moment in We Don't Talk About Bruno, Dolores' chunk of it. Mirabel and Dolores are in the interior courtyard of the Encanto, but you can see behind them. You can see up to the second floor of the house, and behind the railing, moving from left to right, is a figure with a cloak, but you have to be looking for it. And then later on in the same scene, the camera moves in close between Dolores and Mirabel, as one cousin is saying to the other, the grappling with prophecies they couldn't understand. Do you understand? If you look between Dolores and Mirabel up to the second floor of the Encanto at that moment, the figure that previously had walked through is now standing there dancing in between the two cousins. And he's lit from behind with the Bruno glow. It's Bruno.
Wow. This is giving me some big Ghost Kid vibes from Three Men and a Baby.
I think this one's a little bit more legit than that one. But
yeah, okay.
But yeah, also fun fact, in all of the Encanto posters for the theatrical release, if you look close, in the spirit of the hidden Mickey, there's always a hidden Bruno.
Wow.
So
yet another reason to rewatch this movie, which I'm sure we haven't all done 10,000 times already during Christmas break.
Nancy was literally just talking about, it's like, we got to watch that again. Something else I feel like I need to rewatch, because we've got Disenchanted supposedly showing up on Disney Plus in 2022, but the original, the one directed by Kevin Lima from 2007, and it still makes me a little crazy that guy directs the Goofy movie, co-directs Tarzan, moves to live action in 102 Dalmatian, then it follows up with the original Enchanted. And more to the point, if you drill down into his actual work history before he began directing, he worked on the big three of the second golden age of Disney animation: Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. So this guy knows Disney inside out. So you're doing a high-profile sequel for Disney Plus. Shouldn't there have been a conversation about, can we get Kevin?
Yeah.
No disrespect to Adam Shankman, guy who did, a very enjoyable Hairspray, movie version of that. And he not only directed, but also produced Disenchanted. And they supposedly wrapped photography in Ireland back in August of last year. And he's the one who tweeted out that, Disenchanted is coming in 2022. But it kills me that Kevin, who's done such great work for Disney, they aren't reaching out to him. But on the other hand, we do have the news that he's got a new film set up at Sony. No Flying in the House, is that the name?
Yes.
He's been doing a little tweeting about this. I guess it's a young reader book from 1970. The main character of the story is Annabelle Tippins, a 6-year-old girl who discovers over the course of the story that she's half fairy. Evidently, over the course of this film, she'll be forced to choose between becoming fully human or fully fairy, and unbeknownst to her, this choice carries the fate of 2 worlds, so no pressure.
This is like when I am wondering if I'm going to get Chipotle or Paquito Mas for dinner. I know I'm going to be letting down somebody, It's a big decision. That's
it. Yeah. I'm going to the multiplex for that. 2 hours of Drew poring over menus. Okay, back to No Flying in the House. It's supposed to be live action, CG hybrid. By the way, it's going to be produced by Mr. Lima's equally talented wife, Brenda Chapman, who you and I have talked about in her travails with Pixar and Brave.
Well, she's great. She's such a wonderful person. If you ever get a chance to talk to her or she's speaking somewhere or something, she is awesome. And I think they announced that they had a production company or something a couple of years ago. I think we covered on the show. So I wonder if this is a part of that.
Twas Entertainment, I think, is the name of it, which, again, great name. So that's pretty much the film side of the street for this week, folks. When Drew and I get back from this brief break, we'll then focus on the animation-related news that's coming out of television. We'll also talk about a most unusual auction.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
So, Jim, I have to ask you, this is going to air on Tuesday, right? Okay, so everyone who is listening to the show will undoubtedly have seen there's a new trailer coming on Tuesday that I feel like I can talk about if this episode is coming out on Tuesday.
Okay.
Of the Cuphead show.
No!
And I have seen this trailer, Jim, and oh my God. Talk about Mercury Filmworks killing the game. Oh my God. Pure Fleischer style rubber hose animation, references to the skeleton dance and Snow White. I mean, it looks unbelievable.
given what they did with the game, the original Cuphead game, which was spectacular, they did such an amazing take on that, as you mentioned, the Fleischer rubber hose thing. I was a little trepidatious when they announced they were going to go to series with this. It's like, that's just such an impossibly high bar to meet show after show, week after week. But they did it?
Yeah, it looks great. I haven't seen any episodes of the show yet, but yeah, this is some really awesome stuff. And also, I want to say that there's a show coming on next week called The After Party that Chris Miller is producing. And it's got an amazing cast, and animation fans will want to check that out too, because each episode is told in a different style. And Jim, there might be an animated episode in there somewhere, so I just want to give people a heads up on that too.
Well, speaking of giving folks a heads up, like you said, the show goes live on Tuesday, January 18th, and just 2 days after that, on Thursday, January 20th, we get season 4 of Looney Tunes cartoons over at HBO Max, which the fact that they have done as well as I think they've done with the Looney Tunes cartoons, getting that sort of Bob Clampett feel for the show, I still don't entirely get the whole, we got season 1 back in May of 2020. We're 51 episodes in at this point, and the most recent set, season 3, dropped November 25th of last year, so it's just 8 weeks, and now we're into season 4. I mean,
let me get my abacus out, and we can see how many of the 20,000 minutes of original programming. Remember, what was that?
1,000 minutes of and it was going to be shorts. It was going to be stuff for the web. It was going to be, all of that. And again, I'm an old man. I remember terrestrial television, when television used to start in September after Labor Day, and the networks would actually give a show 13 weeks to try and find an audience, and only then pull the plug. And so it was kind of ironic. This right now was the moment when the replacement shows would start appearing in January.
Yeah, mid-season replacements.
There we go. Whereas today the rules are so obviously different. I mean, for example, South Park, that $900 million deal that Matt and Trey did with Viacom CBS last August. So the show now effectively lives in 2 places, right? Paramount Plus seems to have the South Park movies, and I'm doing air quotes for the South Park movies because the pandemic special was 48 minutes. The South Park vaccination special was 47. And post-COVID, and then the post-quarantine or post-COVID, the return, one was 59, one was 62.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to get into the weeds about this, it has something to do with the deal that was already struck with HBO Max.
Really?
For the shows to be on there, I think until 2023, which they're trying to expedite right now in much the same way Disney is trying to get out of their Fox deal with HBO Max. So
I did not know
part
that.
of the movie distinction, I think, has to do with this kind of crazy legal.
Okay. Well, I mean,
mumbo jumbo.
Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed South Park, bigger, longer, uncut, back in June of 1999. I've also enjoyed the multi-part episode shows, like, for example, Imagination Land. Speaking of which, because obviously in Imagination Land we get Matt and Trey's version of the Dream Finder. Imagination, singing the song. But by the way, you had to be paying attention to yesterday, the number of people who did the walk by of the line for the Figment popcorn buckets.
I mean, it was so stupid.
It's $25 to get this popcorn bucket, which is filled with rainbow-colored popcorn. And it's not even really that good a likeness of Figment.
No, it's very cartoony. And it just it makes me mad because we're literally coming up, or we just passed the 20th anniversary of the really terrible version of that ride. And, I don't like Disney kind of profiting off this character and this nostalgia when they completely refuse to do anything noteworthy with that ride. And you know me, Jim, I'm a big original Epcot guy and I love Figment, but good Lord.
Have I shared that slide with you, the timeline slide of what they were planning to do at Epcot?
No, but I mean, when I was at Disney, I overheard a lot about the Inside Out
Yeah.
redo.
Yeah. Because they were planning on spending just shy of $200 million on redoing that pavilion. And that was, it was like finish Guardians and then pivot to that. And now, mind you, I want to say that was prior to the Play Pavilion idea. So I don't know if the funding that was supposed to go for Imagination. I think the other thing, frankly, to be blunt about the Imagination redo, is they were looking for a sponsor. Disney didn't want to spend all of its own money. And I kept hearing Apple. I mean, literally they were supposed to be having conversations. And
listen, if they can get Amazon to refurb a plane that has been rotting away in the Florida sun, they can convince somebody else to redo this.
It's one of these things where it's like, really, that's what you're going to do? I get that Disney fans view that as something significant. This is the plane that Walt flew over the swamps of Florida and looked out at Raz Island and said, that's it. That's the land I want to buy. But beyond that, it's a corporate plane, all right? So, do we get to go inside and, boy, you can smell the smoke from when Walt, it's 2-pack-a-day habit in here. And, and you can see the scotch stains on the upholstery. It's like, it's a plane. It's just a plane, folks. But the fact that, okay, let's spend our money retooling that and hauling it all the way out to California so we can park it outside of. Are they parking it outside of the Anaheim Convention Center, or is it going to be?
I think it's going to be inside somewhere. Yeah. Listen, it was one of the 2 memorable things from the backlot tour, besides some costumes from Dick Tracy and the Golden Girls house. So maybe people will take a shine to it.
I'm sorry. It's again when I see 6 and 7 hour long lines to get Figment popcorn buckets and people get excited about retooling a corporate plane, it's just sort of like, okay, all right. Pivoting back to South Park, that show's coming back to Comedy Central after the 2 movies ran on Paramount Plus. They're talking about when the show comes back on February 2nd, it'll be the 25th anniversary. And they're doing something that night. There's going to be a 3-hour block of South Park. The problem is at this point, no one's talking. So is it the 6 most significant South Park episodes to date? Or is this when these 2 post-COVID movies, finally move from Paramount Plus over to Comedy Central? Because they mentioned that it's only the week after that we start getting new weekly episodes. By the way, they also make a big deal that, this is the first time we're getting brand new weekly episodes since 2019. So since we're talking about Paramount Plus, we should also mention that Big Nate, which is based on Lincoln Pierce's best-selling series of children's books, not to mention the comic strip. First episodes of that show is going to debut on Paramount Plus on February 17th. And while we're talking about truly great kid shows, you wanted to talk about Craig McCracken's Kid Cosmic, right?
Yes, part 3, the final part, where our heroes are turned into sort of global superheroes on Earth, is coming on February 3rd. It's only 6 episodes long, but this show, I feel like, is just so special. It's so well designed. It's so well animated, again, by Mercury Filmworks, that it's very much worth your time and very much worth, kind of seeing through. So, yeah, I highly recommend you get in there and watch that.
And while we're talking up things, you got to mark on your calendar here, or, in fact, the Television Critics Association, that they're doing their winter PR event this week. And the folks behind Proud Family Revival, Louder and Prouder, where they're talking up the show, which will debut on Disney Plus on February 23rd. And then, of course, I have to assume you already knew about this, but the Blu-ray of Adventure Time Distant Lands?
I saw that.
Yeah.
All of the specials collected, which is very nice.
Yeah, all 4 of these shows that were created for HBO Max. Blu-ray is going to hit store shelves on March 8th. Hopefully this will hold folks till Cake and Fiona, the Adventure Time spinoff show. Do we? I know that got announced in October of last year. Do we have any info about?
I haven't seen anything. I don't think there's even artwork or anything from that one yet. So
that's the weird part when you work our side of the street and you drill down into press releases or somebody says something casual at a press conference and it's like, okay, what does that mean? Like, for example, the press materials that went out this week for the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, which debuts on Disney Plus on January 28th. But did you see deep down in that stuff they mentioned that there is an actual Ice Age movie and yet another Rio film in the works?
Yes, I did see that. I think a lot of people saw that and were sort of up in arms.
I mean, you and I talked off air about, we spend an awful lot of time complaining about the fact that Blue Sky gets shut down, but it just, I have to say, based on the animation I've seen so far for Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, I don't know if I want to see an Ice Age movie that's going to be done in that style, because, well, you were just talking about the whole, this is how we show a television show getting translated to theatrical release. The characters have shadows on them.
This is like taking away any shadow or texture or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will reserve judgment till I actually get to see Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, which Simon Pegg is actually doing voice work for this thing, right? Or
he is. My buddy Simon Pegg is back as whatever, I guess, Buck Wild. Is that what that little rascal
there we go.
weasel guy is?
There we go.
Supposed to be?
So yeah. Might be worth setting up a phone call, doesn't mean.
That's true.
All right.
I will always talk to Simon, no matter, the project. So, sure.
Okay. Let's see. What else this week? Oh. Did you see Belle auctions earlier this week?
Why didn't you tell me about this sooner, first of all, Jim? Because I'm looking at it right now, and I gotta say, we are aesthetically compatible here.
You really? Really? Okay.
I mean, listen, what did John Waters say about kitsch? The hideously tragic, the tragically hideous. It's like some of the stuff I could see myself acquiring, but that's as with every auction, it went way over what it should have been. But anyway, go ahead, tell people what this is.
We're talking about the auction this week of the estate of Don and Barbara Rickles. We lost Don back in April of 2017, and Barbara, I want to say, passed away just last year. And I was almost hesitant to bring it up with you, Drew, for much the same reason that I kept doing sort of drive-bys. I didn't want to look because I knew I might, if I spent too much time, I might actually bid on some of this stuff. I mean, there were items in there, for example, the 1995 Toy Story promotion box, which evidently they sent to Don because he did voice work on the film, but it literally had those Thinkway toys that disappeared like the weekend that the movie came out.
Yeah, the 150 toys that they made initially that just disappeared. Yeah,
Don had a set at the house. Likewise, there was a Proud to be Vegetable poster from Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story 1, or the Toys Are Back in Town poster from Toy Story 2. There was the gift bag that if you went to the premiere, the Hollywood premiere of Toy Story 3. But the thing the stuff that got to me was like, there was Bob Pauly had drawn an original drawing of Mr. Potato Head that was framed and sent to Don. And there was this shadow box. It had been created by folks at Pixar after they'd gone to Las Vegas and seen Don perform on stage. And he'd arranged for them to have seats down front. So they made the shadow box of Mr. Potato Head on stage at a Vegas casino with a mic doing stand-up. And stuff like the Imagineers, when they were working on Toy Story Midway Mania, they created for Don because he spent 6 days in the recording booth recording all of the dialogue for both versions of that attraction. It was like, here, this will keep you warm. And by the way, here's the character dressed as a Barker, and there's your name. And Don kept all of it.
Did you see the pin that went with that one? It was so cool.
Yeah, it was. It was. But the folks at Pixar really, really loved Don. So they would do things like they'd send him books, even for Pixar movies that he wasn't doing voices on, or stuff like that Buzz Lightyear Tiki mug, one, again, a limited edition of only 500. And, well, we got to send one to Don.
Did you see how much that one went for?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
It was originally what they thought maybe, 500 to 1,000, and it went for like 3,000?
4,000.
4,000. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. A lot of Quest for Camelot stuff on here, too, Jim.
The fact that the maquette of Devon and Cornwall, the two-headed dragon that Rickles and Eric Idle did in that movie, it kind of kills me that it only went for $150 because it's like, I should have gone for that.
Yeah.
But there was also that great drawing that Adam Burke did.
Yes.
The fact that only a film nerd would really get off on the caption. It's Rickles in the booth basically saying that, I'm only doing this stupid movie because Stanley Kramer didn't cast me in Mad Mad World back in '62. But evidently the real trophy, the big get, at least for animation fans, was, did you see the 20th anniversary statue for Toy Story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is usually, I think, what was that for? That must have just been people who had worked on Toy Story movies for 20 years.
I
don't know what it was.
That I got told, because remember, the date on this thing is supposedly 2015, and we lost Don in April of 2017 to kidney disease. And there was this sort of feeling that we weren't going to have Don for much longer, and John Lasseter wanted to do something to acknowledge. So they kind of invented an award, for the 20th,
right?
And got it out to certain people. And Don evidently very proudly displayed it at the house for the last 2 years of his life. But it's got this interesting inscription on it, something to the effect of, acknowledging the 20th anniversary and thank you for helping change the world. That kind of has a double meaning because when the initial Toy Story came out in November of 1995, no one had ever done a feature-length computer animated film at that point, and Toy Story proved that CG like this could really connect with an audience. But it also, for Don, it had a different meaning because, face it, when Lasseter goes to Don Rickles and, tries to get him to do Mr. Potato Head, Don's been in show business for 35 years at that point. He started in casinos back in the late 50s. In fact, there's that great story about when Frank Sinatra first went to go see him. Rickles find out he's in the audience. And you got to remember, this is Frank Sinatra during his Ava Gardner years, so he's kind of famous for punching people. It's like, Frank, hey, you're here. Make yourself at home. Hit somebody. But that was when he became the Merchant of Venom, the number one insult comic in the country. And, the Rat Pack, embraced him. And we jump ahead to the early 90s and 35 years on the job. And he's 68 at this point. And just kind of facing reality that it's kind of toward the end. But Lasseter goes to him and pitches the idea that you should be the voice of Mr. Potato Head because Mr. Potato Head's parts are always falling off of him. So he's going to be an irritable guy, and you're an irritable guy. So would you do this? And there's also, you can literally go online and search this out, but there is an interview that Don does in 1995 for the first wave of press for the first Toy Story. And there's this wonderful moment where it's like, Don basically says, well, look, it's Disney. They don't pay a lot of money. And in fact, he then does this great bit where he's pretending he's Michael Eisner and putting his arms up and scooping up this giant pile of money. This is mine. You can't have it. But Don then goes on, but it's a start. It could be something. We'll see. And it was. If you think about what the next 25 years was for Don Rickles, that he suddenly had this entirely different audience. Mind you, they were all, 5-year-olds? And in fact, Don's grandson, Ethan, was born in August of 1995, just 3 months before the original Toy Story came out. And so for all of Ethan's life, he knew his grandfather as the voice of Mr. Potato Head, the voice behind that plush doll that you took home and took to bed with you. The insult comic, the guy who played in Vegas, was like, yeah, he did that a long time ago, but this is who my grandfather is. And Don just loved to get this second career, to get, so the whole notion of this statue having the changing the world, I mean, Mr. Potato Head literally did change Don's world. But speaking of which, though, to circle back to, again, it was originally listed for what, $200 to $300? That's what they thought it might go in the auction. What did it actually go for, Drew?
The award went for a cool $3,750.
Wow.
So somebody really wanted that. I guess a bunch of people really wanted it.
Yeah, but when you think about the tiki mug, still went for higher, 4,000.
Yeah.
Tiki collectors are crazy. But again, when you look at the prices, these things everything went for multiples of what it was originally listed for. But that's a long...
Except there's a great coffee table that only went for $275.
Yeah.
Really loved, but somebody, I'm not going to say who on this call, did not alert someone else about this.
Again, if I had, Katie and I would be having a conversation now.
That's true. That's true.
I think the phrase enabler would have come up.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I'm doing you a favor, pal. These things went to the prices they did because people loved Toy Story almost as much as they loved Don Rickles. And I miss that guy. He was Hollywood history with feet. And speaking of Hollywood history, if you are not listening to Drew's Light the Fuse podcast, folks, you're missing out on some truly amazing stories. So what are you and Charles talking about this week?
We are talking to Anthony Giacchino this week, who is obviously Michael's brother and did the great documentary on Iron Giant. So if you're a fan of his, the one that's airing this week, I think, is when we get into the Iron Giant stuff.
Ooh, okay.
So it's pretty great. Just how that all came together. And I believe Teddy Newton was the one that did the illustrations for that documentary. And we talked to him a few weeks ago, which was great. Have you seen, Jim, those little Pixar short toys that Funko has put out?
No.
They have both of the figures from Night and Day.
This is mean because, again, I didn't tell you about the Don Rickles auction, so you wouldn't spend money, and now I know. Now I got to go buy Funko crud.
I know. Well, I mean, what was great, I walked into some store that was having a 2-for-1 sale, but what's nice too is they're not mystery. You actually know what you're getting going into it. But we're talking about Night and Day. We're talking about the little bird for the birds. 2 different versions of the Bow guy. Kit Bull Jim is even represented.
Wow.
So check these out. They're $5. You can find them at Target, and they're really, really cool. I mean, you never see a toy for Night and Day, so I would, pick it up.
Okay.
But,
yes. Literally finish the shopping. And apologies, I got to go at the car keys and go check out some Funko Pixar.
They're little, Jim. So look in where they have a little tray of them. But they're way better than that Figment popcorn bucket. So,
Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening, folks. And Drew and I will be back next week.